This project dates back to what, close to over a decade, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, 8 years ago,
8 years ago.
a stranger approached me in a store and handed me an envelope that contained newspaper clippings about this story. His name is Tom Heller, and he's got an executive producer credit. And Capote had just come out, and he said, "I think you're going to want to make a film about this story." Truthfully, and it's never happened before, it just grabbed me immediately. Before I finished reading the first article, I just knew that I was going to do this. Part of it has to do with the oddity of these characters finding each other. And I think it's true of all of my films that there are characters in worlds where they do not belong. But this one seemed especially compelling because it had, well, for me, an allegorical quality. And it's a very simple, very strange story that felt familiar. And as weird as it is, a lot of the themes running through it about wealth and class and father issues, patriotism, family, felt familiar.
The research involved in this must have been monumental. Did you consult with the Schultzes in order to bring this to the screen?
By the time this came to me, there was another writer, Max Fry, who worked with Bennett for a long time before me. But Bennett had done an enormous amount of research to start with. He'd done hundreds of hours of talking to wrestlers who had been at Foxcatcher. There was a ton of material in terms of court documents and public domain articles, and John DuPont wrote several books. He'd made a documentary about himself. So there was a lot to look at, much of which Bennett had compiled and worked through with Max, and he and Max did the initial really groundbreaking, eye-opening to me work in terms of formulating exactly what this story could and should be. By the time I came onto it, it felt like more of a piece that I could work with Bennett in figuring out how to shape that into a movie rather than starting from scratch from the raw materials. I don't know, Bennett, I don't know if that was your
That's
experience.
exactly right.
I met Bennett in a hotel in New York, and I had just done, I think, my second film, and he told me about this story, and I went home. He gave me the script. I went home. I researched the characters a little bit and the story. Again, I didn't know anything about it, and I read the script, and to be completely honest, I didn't know why to make it. Like I think I just didn't know enough about just storytelling, and I was sort of just like, why do you want to make this, man? And I think thank God I ran back into Bennett later, and I guess 7 years later, and I think I had done a lot of growing and a lot of learning, and why to make movies and why to play characters and why to tell stories, and we just saw eye to eye, and I'm just so thankful that I got to go on the walk, and because I think that, I don't know, I understand a little bit more about people and life after it.
Now, Steve, did you meet with Bennett as early as Channing did, or did it come
25
later?
years ago.
25 years ago, before he got that letter.
Before this story even took place, we were talking about it.
9 years before the murder, Steve called me.
I guess it was about 4 years ago that we got together. I knew vaguely of the story when it happened, but then it evaporated, and I didn't know anything more about it. I was sent the script. I met with Bennett over lunch, and he offered me the part. It wasn't anything that was on my radar. I wasn't campaigning for it. So no, it came as a complete surprise to me.
And when you first got it, were you surprised that it even came to you in the first place?
Yes, I was surprised. Yeah, no, and I'm very thankful to him for that. I feel like I'm very much in his debt because I don't think I would have been on anyone's short list to play a part like this. And my agent submitted my name, and apparently it piqued his interest, and we met and talked about the script. So yeah, I was surprised, happily.
One of our early conversations, Steve said he's only ever played characters with a mushy center. And John DuPont seems to have a mushy center, but he doesn't. And he's dangerous. And, you know, being a comic, Steve naturally has a twisted dark side that he conceals from the rest of the world. And when we met, truthfully, the public persona, how we know Steve, was not really very evident, and he was deadly serious about it, and he had read the script, and he responded strongly to the script, and he had done some research.
Now, one character that doesn't have a mushy center is John DuPont's mother, played by Vanessa Redgrave. You appear, it's true, I don't know, but do you think she has a mushy center?
I listened to Bennett. No, I mean that seriously. Sorry to bark that out on the mic. No, I did. Because from what he told me, and from how he put it, I thought I'll just have to listen to you very, very carefully, and then what you know and what you're after, it'll come through me.
I think everything about the movie took a very deliberate path and needed to evolve and reveal itself along the way. It's not based on a book or as much as it's based on reality. It's Bennett's vision that had to be realized. And with script, our great writers, and with the process that it took over the 8 years, it couldn't have happened any other way.
Now, Mark Ruffalo has some training, or not some training, but he actually has some wrestling experience, if I'm not mistaken. Channing, you do not, correct? So how much training did you have to undergo in order to truthfully portray this guy?
Well, look, movie magic is amazing. We could train for 10 years and we're never going to be the wrestlers that these men were. But Mark and I wrestled for about 7 months.
7 months.
Till the end of the movie, to the end date of the film. I'd say it's about 7 months, and every day, I mean, we would shoot 12 hours, 13 hours, whatever it was, and then we would go to the gym, and we would throw each other around, and so much of what you see on screen of us stretching each other and just being intimate, and I mean intimate in a way that you can only have with someone that is suffering with you. Like, and you both are terrified of the workout that you're about to go do, and because you know it's gonna hurt worse than the day before and worse than anything that you've experienced in life. But the moves are the moves, and you can learn those. But what these guys do, I mean, wrestling, you don't get famous, you don't get rich, you don't. You don't do it for any other reason other than it's something that you somehow have just had to do in your life. And that's all I can really say about wrestling. It's a suffocating thing.
So you had a great time making
It's
this
amazing. I'll never do it again.
Steve, what went into your preparation for the role? I'm guessing not a lot of physical training.
Not a lot at all.
No.
No, actually, the less I learned about wrestling, the better. Because DuPont himself was not good at it. He didn't really have much experience or proficiency at it. So I was able to learn moves fairly quickly.
Too quickly, by the way. We had to be like, not
So
so
I
good. not so
So
good.
we figured out the best way to do it would be to just kind of shoot me doing it for the first time, because I'm just that good an athlete. That's the point of this response.
And Bill Corso, who is a makeup artist, spent months working on the character, and many tests, and it's not as simple as, you know, matching a guy's look, but it's a very sophisticated design, and what it did was, I think, affect Steve, who can look in the mirror, and it affected his physicality immediately. It affects others around him. You know, it's a repellent design, and people just naturally gave him a wide berth, and he remained fairly alienated throughout the shoot, to the extent where these two guys only got to know each other, really meet in Cannes at the film festival. And they found that they liked each other. But something else is that, you know, Steve Carell playing a dramatic role, within 3 seconds, you have to buy it, period. And if that doesn't work, forget about it.
It was interesting. I had a driver that would pick me up at the hotel and bring me to makeup, and then I would spend the 3 hours getting into makeup, and then I'd go out and get into the car, and he'd drive me to set. And we talked all the way from the hotel, and he became a friend of mine. Great guy, but he would not talk to me. Once I came out of hair and makeup, he just...
And he knew who you were.
He did know who I
obviously.
was, and he and there was a completely different relationship there, and not by virtue of anything that I felt I was doing differently. So I think it helped that way.
I did wear we cut the top off of baby bottle nipples. Baby bottle nipples, and shoved them up my nose for the entire shoot, and that was excruciating. So that helped with the pain aspect. But I mean, the real thing with I think with Mark and my way into him was really just his movement. I mean, he was such a physical person, and I think that's the way he negotiated the world. And that was sort of my path into him.
I met with Mark Schultz, and I bought his life rights. I did not want to venture into this thing with that guy without some kind of an agreement. Throughout the process, people kept on emerging. Dave Schultz was somebody who had 1,000 best friends, and I feel like we met many of them along the way. Channing, maybe you could speak to this. There were some emotional moments when people saw Ruff for the first time.
I mean, a lot like, I mean, I guess if any of you have had like a hero or someone that you felt like you've grown up with in your life, that sort of defined you. I mean, Dave Schultz and Mark were of legendary status in this world, and if you're in this world, they are mythic characters, and anyone that had actual real life moments with them could speak to it in a way that you just, I don't know how to really explain it. And you know, I had the unbelievable graceful opportunity to be able to spend a lot of time with Mark, but Ruffalo, I mean, he had to spend time with people that are still missing, you know, that part of their life of Dave, and it was a, I'm sure, an incredibly uncomfortable and yet beautiful experience the entire way.
Did you watch the film with Mark?
Yeah, with Mark Schultz. Yeah. I will never watch it sitting next to him, but I was in the same room with him as he watched it. Yeah.
I'm sure you've asked him what he thinks of your performance.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's happy.
He has a T-shirt that says, "Channing Tatum played me in a movie. Who's playing you?"